Hello and welcome to Introvert Internet. What? Hello and welcome to Internet Introvert. I'm your host, Micah. I'm an introvert on the internet. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about how it is to be an INFP in an ESTJ world. I want to do a quick introduction into who I am because this is episode 1 of the series. Hello, my name is Micah. I am a 26-year-old INFP, 4-wing 3 in the Enneagram, and I make music. I do content strategy. And now I'm doing this, my weird video podcast type of thing called Internet Introvert. Now, the value that I want you to gain from this video is hopefully like relatability, understanding, like feeling understood, feeling seen. And I think maybe I'll even offer some advice along the way. So there's value in this video. It's not just a me type of video. And it's just fun, like have some company. Why is the sun disappearing again? So I've broken my life down into 3 stages: childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood. I've defined my childhood from ages 0 to 11. And I believe strongly that that is the best time to be an INFP in this ESTJ world. I'm thirsty already. Good God. Good God. Micah, why is childhood the best time to be an INFP? Basically, INFPs, we have the personality of children in the ESTJ world. Like, children are allowed to be how we are naturally. Children are allowed to be imaginative. Children are allowed to be talkative. Children are allowed to be sensitive and cry about a bunch of crap. Because even in the ESTJ world, that is seen as normal to a certain extent in childhood. And it's kind of encouraged as well in childhood. So I feel like we really shine there. So that is like, I think, the biggest advantage of being an INFP in childhood. We get to be children, like what people expect from children while we're children. And we don't really feel pressured or annoyed by the world yet. And we don't have too many responsibilities, you know? And that was how my childhood was. I feel like I would be in my backyard pretending that I was in Harry Potter. I was best friends with Ron and Hermione and Harry and doing magic spells. And even with my friend, like I had a best friend, Dimitri, and we would do those things together. Like we would write spells, we would play with like, what the crap were we playing with? You know, you would play with just wand-like objects, pieces of sticks. And like, it was so much fun. Like it was just so imagination based. My childhood was very imagination heavy. Like also, I feel like I grew up in that weird kind of transition. Well, not weird, but I feel like I grew up in that transition period between like TV and OTV. Between TV and, you know, the TV being the main thing and then the internet being the main thing, at least in my country of Trinidad and Tobago. So when I would go by my grandmother with my cousins, like, if something on the TV was, like, something we didn't like, or if Granny had to watch the TV this time because we've been watching it all day, it was so easy as a child to just go outside and imagine. And I think that as INFPs, we have any. Any is usually called, like, the imagination function. And I think that for me as a child, it was so strong, and it was so fun, and it was so natural to being a child back then. Now, I mean, children have, like, iPads, tablets, they're on TikTok, like, they'd have a completely different experience where they're not, in my opinion, using imagination as much as they used to and as much as they were encouraged to. But that's just me being a boomer. That's just my old man opinion. But I think that as a child, like, it's really encouraged to be imaginative. And I feel like our natural talents, not even our, I feel like my natural talents got to shine as a child. I was so talkative. Again, that's any. I used to get in trouble for being talkative and saying too much. But that's, you know, like that was, you know, that's like a disadvantage. Because I want to talk about advantages and disadvantages. I used to talk too much and I used to get in trouble for that. I just used to say whatever was on my mind. That was not a good thing. And the thing is, you know, that's just being a child, like, you know. I wanted to divide this into like advantages and like struggles. But honestly, I don't really feel like I had many struggles as an INFP as a child. And I think that also when I was a child, like making friends was a lot easier. Because at the end of the day, we're all ambiverts, right? But I think even making friends was easier. I think also because I didn't have a lot of experience in terms of like rejection. Because I feel like our bodies, as we get older, they remember how rejection feels as and we don't like it. We don't like how rejection feels in the body. But as a child, you're not really getting rejected because children are, not so terrible. As a child, you don't have a great memory bank of all the failures that you've been through. I didn't have that. So I was much more interactive with other human beings. Like, I was so friendly and warm. Like, I'm sorry. I'm of the belief that if my adolescence went differently, I may have been an ENFP. Because when I first took the test, when I was like 15 or something, I did get ENFP. And I am of the belief that if my adolescence went differently, because I used any so much, I think I would have gone down that road. However, that's a different discussion for a different video. But the point I'm trying to make is that childhood, for me as an INFP, was so fun. But everything changed when secondary school attacked. So now, I want to talk about my adolescence, which I have put from ages 12 to 19. Now, in reality, as INFPs, our adolescence ends at 25. But I just, I don't want to expose us like that. But that was definitely when my adolescence ended. It ended last year. From 12 to 19. This is when the struggles come in. I basically said there were no disadvantages in childhood besides talking too much. Like, that was really it. Everything else was basically encouraged. I was quite smart. I think INFPs, INTJs, and ENFPs are supposed to be some of the more intelligent types, like naturally. I said what I said. I said what I said, but so I didn't have any issues there. So I was good at school. So yeah, there were really no struggles. Like, obviously there were environmental struggles. Like, I grew up in a household that wasn't the best. But I'm talking about in terms of being an INFP. I wasn't feeling how ESTJ the world was yet. Because also your parents kind of protect you from that in childhood. But in adolescence, it's a very different ball game. Because people get mean, bitch. People get mean. And for some reason, FI comes in and it manifests itself as insecurity. Because I remember, well, technically I was still 11, but my first day of secondary school. How would American people relate to this? Think of secondary school as just high school, honestly. Just think about it like high school in your world. Even though like your Americans enter high school at like 14/15, secondary school starts at like 12, but it's basically the same thing. Either way. The first day of secondary school, I did not even want to go to the classroom because I was late and I was terrified that everybody was going to look at me and that I was going to be weird. Adolescence is the beginning of insecurity. FI's dark side, which is insecurity for some reason, comes out. Because that's when the emotions really kick in. I feel like a child, like, you have emotions, but they're not that deep. They're not that deep. They're just like, I'm happy, I'm sad. Like, they're not that, like, you don't really get into it. Now, I know that there are a lot of videos on the internet about inner child work and stuff like that. And I do agree with that. But for me, personally, it's inner adolescent work. Because the problem with being an adolescent is that people have a different set of expectations for you now. Like, if you weren't outside playing Harry Potter with sticks 6 months ago. In addition to FI kind of manifesting as insecurity, I think that imagination is not really praised. It's not encouraged as much. And I think from childhood, from learning, from being constantly told that I talk too much, cool down your NE and your thoughts and just letting everything out, it made me very reserved as an adolescent. I was a lot more concerned about what came out of my mouth and if it was appropriate or not, which is, beginning to learn an adult skill because tact is necessary in the adult world. It just is. Because if everybody can't say anything they want to your sensitive INFP arse, you shouldn't be able to say anything you want to them. So it's, that's an adult skill, it's a trade-off. There were a lot of trade-offs in adolescence, okay? Lots of trade-offs. And what is another struggle? I think the biggest struggle with adolescence is that now This is when extroverted thinking, she becomes way more important. Now you have bigger projects that you have to do with other adolescents. So you have to learn planning and stuff like that and organizing. Now the work that you do feels more serious because the people around you treat it like it's more serious. Your teachers treat it like it's more serious because now you're sort of thinking about life after school. Not so much in the beginning of school, but I would say towards the end, towards the middle, from the middle to the end of secondary school or high school or whatever, you start to think about the future. And the INFP, like me, I thought about the future in terms of like fantasy, like I think any kind of manifested itself more mentally for me. So I would think about the future in a fantastical way, like, oh my god, I can't wait to go to LA and go to UCLA and have this perfect life and have this perfect partner. I had a huge crush back then, it was huge. I'm just imagining like fantastical events, which was really challenging. I think in adolescence I realized how blah blah everyday life is. So fantasy came in heavy in adolescence. So I'm still getting to use my imagination, but I'm a lot more private with it, and it's it's not a great coping mechanism at all times because it's kind of preventing me from actually learning real life skills, So I wasn't really learning real life skills. I was just learning how to fantasize. And I was skating on the fact that I was still good at school. I mean, obviously I got worse at certain things like geography, hates you. Science that doesn't have to do about animals or humans, hates you. Or plants. Like, I'll give you plants. But you see, like, chemicals, get out. I did not hate languages. English, love you, love you, love you, love you. However, math, hates you. Hates you, math. And I think that's pretty normal for INFPs. We are artistic. We are going to prefer artistic things. But I think something that I did poorly in adolescence that's going to transition us into adulthood now is that I did not pay attention to the things that I was not good at. I learned to avoid things that I did not like, things that made me uncomfortable. And here's the thing, everything that you avoid comes back to you. It comes back around, and now it's a problem you have to solve. Now it's a weakness that you have. And I think that is advice that I would truly give to my younger self. Please work on these weaknesses because they're going to come back to you. And it's going to be even more of a weakness than it would have been as an adolescent. So if you are like a 17-year-old INFP listening to this, please develop your TE. I know that everybody says that NE is the savior and NE is going to help you be more objective. Agreed. But TE is going to be your adulthood enemy. So now we're moving into my young adulthood. That was a perfect transition. And this I am categorizing from age 20 to 26 now. So yes, currently 26. And let's say we already started. TE is my enemy. Okay. Even though TE should be my friend. TE should be FI's friend. Okay? Extroverted thinking and introverted feelings should be friends because together nobody can stop them. But we're telling the story from back then. This is my 26-year-old fully developed brain, finally, realization. But at 20 years old, the brain was not fully developed. And the insecurity that entered adolescence and the avoidance of my weaknesses that occurred in adolescence really reared their ugly head in young adulthood. I think in adolescence, something that I also should have mentioned is that I became insecure about everything about myself. Like the way I spoke, the way I looked, the way that how much money my family had, what area I was from, my teeth. Why'd I say it like that? But yeah, my teeth, like, whoa. It was insecurity on insecurity on insecurity on insecurity. And I became really jealous too. Because as a teen, you're compared a lot and you also compare yourself a lot. Because I feel like there's an ideal, the ideal teen, you don't fit. Like the ideal child, you did fit. But I feel like as an INFP, we don't fit the ideal teen mode. Because as a teen, you're supposed to be integrating as an adolescent, you're supposed to be integrating more adult characteristics. And I think that I was not ready to integrate those adult characteristics. And I rejected those adult characteristics, like organization and planning and structure and those things. I rejected them. And even just studying is like an adult characteristic that I rejected. But I got to skate through because I was smart. But everything that I rejected as an adolescent came back to bite me in my butt as a young adult. INFPs, if we are the ideal child, like if I was the ideal child, I am the worst adult. Like, I am not an adult according to what an adult should be in this ESTJ world. Like, I'm very emotional, I'm moody, I don't like structure, I'm a bit selfish, you know what I mean? I'm a dreamer, I'm a daydreamer, you know what I mean? I rely a lot on fantasy, my imagination is still really strong. I don't have a super practical job. Like, it's all of these things that kind of make me the antithesis to an adult, to a perfect adult in this world. And I think that if childhood has no struggles, adolescence has some struggles, but it's still kind of nice because you still kind of get to be imaginative. You still don't have too many responsibilities, even though it feels terrible sometimes. I think adulthood could potentially has the most disadvantages. Like, I have never been so depressed. like really, it was bad for me. And the thing about being an INFP is that we cannot FI our way to TE success. We cannot introverted feeling our way to extroverted thinking success. Like, we can't do it. And that is just the hardest lesson that I had to learn. We can't even NE. Okay, we can't even extroverted intuition into extroverted thinking success. It's just its own thing. And that is the thing that helps people become successful in this world. And that took me so many years to realize. I just thought if I went with my imagination and my creativity from 20 to now, that it would lead to something. It led to nothing. It led to 5 million half-started projects that led to nothing. And it was so depressing because I felt like, why am I in this world? Like, we get there. I got there. Where it's like, why am I here? This world does not feel made for me. And I hate this. Because, as an INFP, we're all about authenticity, about what feels genuine to us and our values and our imagination and vision for the future. Why is everything so stupid? And why is everything so mundane? Well, also, I'm an Enneagram Type 4, so that's some extra problems there. If you are an Enneagram Type 9, you may not have some of these problems, but I'm an Enneagram Type 4. We are all about uniqueness and all kind of stupidness that kind of prevents us from actualizing things. Thank goodness I'm a Type 3, so I have created a lot. I'm a 4-wing 3, so I have created a lot of things that does push me to make things in the real world. But even then, introverted feeling rears her ugly head and prevents me from doing work. And I think that that's what my young adulthood has been about. It's been about trying to reconcile introverted feeling and extroverted thinking, trying to reconcile, extroverted intuition and extroverted thinking, trying to reconcile my values and my imagination with results, with creating things using those strengths. And I feel like that's something that a lot of INFPs can relate to because we want success. We have extroverted thinking in our stack. Okay, we want to create something real. Okay, we just don't want to be like managers, but we want to create something real, something that feels authentic to us, something that has some sort of creativity to it, and we want people to appreciate it. We have the TE. Okay, it's a really, hard thing to do. And I think that young adulthood, I'm going to rationalize it as it has to break you a bit, baby. We have to be broken a bit because we are truly sensitive souls. And we're also stubborn as hell. FI is so stubborn. Okay? FI thinks that she can do anything. She thinks that she could become any function and achieve anything, but she can't. INFPs, like myself, we need to think about skill building, and that's how I'm approaching life. a skill building, and that's how I'm approaching anything that involves extroverted thinking and even extroverted feeling, a skill building. Because I learned as an adult, I said in the beginning of the video, where's the light, mother chucker? I said in the beginning of the video that, I'm a musician. I make pop music, which is not something seen as normal for INFPs. We're supposed to be hippie hipsters who don't like anything like that. But I say, frick that. Anyway, sorry for flipping you off. Anyway, but like, I'm sorry, I'm a basic bitch. I have type 3 in my personality. Anyway, and music at the end of the day could seem so FI. It's like, oh my god, it's all about how you feel and like, But no. Even music has, structural elements that have to be adhered to and done properly. Otherwise, I'm not going to accomplish the amazing feeling that I wanted to give to my audience, and I'm not going to tell the amazing story that I wanted to tell effectively, because people are going to be put off by the fact that if I'm not singing on pitch, if the lyrics are not actually hitting the spot. These things are very unemotional to a certain extent. These things are very objective. They are objectively good lyrics, they're objectively bad lyrics. They're objectively, you either on pitch or you not. And these were elements that pissed me off in my career, earlier in my career, like literally, because I didn't want to sit down and practice and learn to sing notes properly, because why can't I just do it naturally? And that is an INFP problem, or it's just a me problem, but I'm counting it as an INFP problem, where I want to do everything naturally. What the frick is naturally? What is wrong with building skills? What is wrong with refining things and becoming better at things? This weird expectation. I'm also an INFP, so she's turbulent. I have this weird perfectionist thing, but then I also want to be perfect as soon as I try something. Otherwise, it's not me, and I'm done with it. Exactly what I did with math. But it's like, let it go. It's like, no, be proud of building skills. And that's why I say that FI and TE actually should be best friends, because I should create honest art. I should. That's what's going to resonate with people the best. Duh. However, if I'm singing off key, nobody's going to listen to my honest art because it makes them feel uncomfortable, because objectively the song is doing something that is not going, objectively the song is not as efficient as it could be. And then extroverted feeling, it's not making, the tribe is not going to value it because it sounds like poop. And I think that's been a huge realization for me. And it was another realization for me in terms of creating content. It's like, Micah baby, you cannot just make videos about you. It's like being a music artist. Hi guys, I made this song. I would really love for you guys to check it out and support me. Thank you. No. Now granted, I wasn't so damn obvious. But no. Where's the value? What value does this song have for me? Now let's retake that statement. Hey guys, I wrote this song about being about being somebody in their mid-20s who still lives with their parents. If you relate to this, I think that you should listen to it. Here's a 15-second preview. So much more valuable. And guess what, INFP me? I still get to talk about me. But now, I'm talking about me in a way that is potentially valuable to somebody else, because they could now be in their mid-20s or whatever, living at home with their parents still and feeling bad and wanting to hear something that expresses their feelings. They could like the way that the song sounds just generally and be interested because I've given them information. Okay? I'm not just saying, I am Micah, I am valuable, support me. Because that is that's FI. I'm sorry. FI thinks that and the thing is, it's sad because we do all have intrinsic value. But when you're selling a product or service, intrinsic value does not really matter that much. And that's something I want you all to take away from this video. That is the biggest lesson I've learned in my young adult portion of life. It's that even I as an INFP, value extroverted thinking. I do not, the YouTubers I watch, I don't just watch them because of who they are. They provide some kind of value to me, no? And they provide a feeling value, and they also provide a logical value to me as well. I have to use my nemesis function, extroverted feeling, and I have to use my inferior function, extroverted thinking. And it's just the way that it has to go, because it's going to get me what I want. And I think that that is what INFPs have to learn. That is like the biggest lesson you could get from this ESTJ world. Grit. And doing things. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes sense. And that's really what I want to impart to you all. My fellow INFPs who feel like this ESTJ world is so hard. We can do it. We can do it. I used, TE to write a very basic script for this video. Basic as hell, because I want to talk about whatever I want to talk about. But it needs to make a little bit of sense so that it's satisfying to watch. So apply that to your own life. The switching lighting in this video has pissed me off, but that's just the country I live in. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. If you just listened to it like a podcast, you all in this upload here, because hopefully I have a second video by now. If I don't, well then, ah well.